Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Thursday. This is the Woo Report. The Woo Report. Episode 215. I'm your host, Sam Woo. Coming to you live from the Primetime Radio Studios in an undisclosed location in New Jersey, where the bunker's at. Can't tell you where I'm at. As we're streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Podcast Network. Today's topic, or tonight's topic, or this morning's topic, because we've gone global. We don't know where you're from. Let's ask social media. We're going to ask social media throughout this podcast. Where are you from? But your state, province, country. Where are you from? Watching this fine programming called the Woo Report. Title is Devil's Odds to Get Tkachuk. Arbitration date set. We're going to talk a little bit of randomness tonight on a Happy Devils Thursday. The Tkachuk watch going on. Seeing a lot of tweets, a lot of pump fakes from naughty Twitter accounts faking you out that Tkachuk wants this or Tkachuk wants that, but really nobody really knows. Awfully quiet. Who will win that trade battle? Lots of teams going all in, I would assume, or at least looking into it. Wrote an article on hockeybuzz.com this morning saying that Tom Fitzgerald should go all in. Why not? Players like, I almost said Keith, because he was one of my favorite players growing up, but Matthew Tkachuk, these kind of players don't come too often. And you're going to have to offer big-time assets to get somebody that not only is maybe a top 10 player in the league, but somebody that's only 24 years old and comes from the family pedigree that he comes from. Doesn't happen too often. But you're going to have to pay a premium. And teams that have the relative cap space, the assets that would help Calgary rebuild from Johnny Gaudreau leaving and soon to be Matthew Tkachuk, who are the odds-on favorite? A lot of it, folks, has to do with, you guessed it, money, salary cap, contracts. You're going to have to ship players back to Calgary. Who's got the no trade clause? Who's willing to waive the no trade clause? Moving things around is not that easy in the NHL. The collective bargaining agreement has certain parameters, and I think it caught a lot of teams off guard, starting with the Calgary Flames, that when Johnny Gaudreau just literally told them at the 11th hour, I've been trying to tell you guys, it's not going to work. It's kind of like a breakup with your significant other. The other significant other doesn't want to break up, but you do and want to move on. And then finally, the deadline, you're at your wit's end. I'm telling you, it's not about the money. There's nothing more you can do. And then you just go to Columbus. Like, okay. And now Tkachuk, who's wanted out from Calgary for some time now, with no leverage, now he's got the restricted free agent tag on him. Now he's got some leverage here. But will the economics of other teams work? I think the Philadelphia Flyers, with the whole thing with Gaudreau, they were unprepared. No one really thought that Gaudreau would leave. You knew there was a chance. Tkachuk, St. Louis, you look at capfriendly.com. I mean, Doug Armstrong, the Blues GM, would literally have to pull off miracles. Because you look at that roster, NTC, no trade clause, is everywhere. The movements of some of these players, the players have the leverage. And who would want to leave St. Louis? I mean, they won the Stanley Cup in 2019. For all intents and purposes, it's a great place to raise a family in Missouri. So now begs the question, and the odds makers are getting involved. I love this, like, sports betting. You know, we should do some sports betting on live air. I don't know how we're going to do that on this fine programming called the Woo Report, because I love the predictions. I love the fans that, you know, the Monday morning quarterback, oh, I woulda, shoulda, whatever. You know, hindsight's 2020. You know, that jazz. And I'm seeing some of the comments coming in. Hello, Twitter Live. Give me some hearts on the Twitter Live. I see some people watching in. Ask some questions at Let's Go Devils Pod on Twitter. YouTube Live. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Type in Let's Go Devils Podcast. It's the Let's Go Devils channel. And on Facebook at Let's Go Devils Podcast. You can find us there. Mike Rossi's always there. He's always happy, from what I gather. So as everybody's filing in, we're going to talk a little bit. Just want to read some of the comments. Comments. Come on, Facebook Live. I don't know if my phone's working or whatever, but you got to comment. Remember, we are the most commented podcast, New Jersey Devils podcast, or Devils podcast in the history of New Jersey Devils. Anyway, Shane Van Sickle says 4 things in the Devils' favor. Fitzgerald is his cousin. Doesn't hurt unless there's a family feud going on. Cap space. Yeah, that window is starting to dwindle a little bit, but yes, there is some room. You're just going to have to finagle it. Deep in assets, talking about prospects. And Tkachuk's agent is Palatz. But he's also, I believe, Casey Fitzgerald's agent as well, the son of Tom Fitzgerald. You may want to look that up. So if you're going to connect all the dots here, the odds makers has the Devils just slightly a hair ahead. I think it's, I don't even know what these odds stuff means. I'm going to actually ask social media for help because I don't even know what. I got to get to that. I got to get what the odd makers are saying about, who's going where, or not who's going where. The odds makers of what are the odds of the Devils' chances that Devils can actually get the job done compared to other teams. I'm trying to look that up right now because I had it this morning. Okay, all right. If traded, Devils are plus 400. Makes sense. The math works. Or I should say they mathematically can do it with relative ease compared to the Blues. Also, assets, all that. But the Blues are plus 450, so they're a close second. Probably because that's the preference of Matthew Tkachuk. Predators, 500. Sabres plus 600. Senators plus 600. The Stars plus 650. Islanders plus 700. Red Wings plus 750. And the Knights plus 1,000. I'm thinking, okay, how are you coming up with the odds? I think Larry Brooks put it out in the New York Post about the Rangers getting involved. It's like, Larry, please don't say that. Because they could just give up on their Lafreniere and Capo Caco and, a couple draft picks and all that. And could you imagine? It would be a travesty if Matthew Tkachuk went to the New York Rangers. I'd be downright pissed. Yeah, I would be. Would you? I would. Because I'll tell you what, that would be potentially a big dent in Tom Fitzgerald's legacy in New Jersey. Ramona Rice, I don't know what you're talking about, so you're going to have to explain that. Sam, you didn't say this about Johnny Hockey. Don't know what you're talking about. Let's see here. You're telling me to move on from Tkachuk. No. The Devils are very well in it. It's just a matter of explaining to Tkachuk that for years upon years when he was growing up that, he grew up, born in Arizona, probably grew up in St. Louis. They probably told him, oh, New Jersey, it sucks. You don't want to go there. And it's ingrained in his head. But, we're going to try to peel that back and be like, look, New Jersey, the state itself, it's the only thing that's bad about New Jersey are the politicians. They failed you. But everything else about New Jersey is actually pretty cool, till the politicians ruin it. But that's another story for another day. You could go to 101.5, New Jersey 101.5. My good friend Bob Giaquinto works there. He's also on air on the weekends, and he'll take your requests. Anyway, moving on. Eddie Allen says, do you think Tkachuk wants to play in Jersey? You know what? I don't even know. I'm assuming not, based on the rumors. But what choice does he have? Unless another team can make a humongous offer to the Calgary Flames. Now, the Calgary Flames here don't really have a leg to stand on with leverage here. You've got a player that wants out. Every team knows that. Where the Flames will cash in is if you've got a bidding war between two teams that have the assets, that have the cap space, that have the desire to overpay for Tkachuk, and that may factor in. But when is it too much? Now, going to give you a full disclosure. I was just asking a question on my Twitter account at PrimetimeSamWoo because I wanted to not get only a reaction, but I wanted to get Devils fans thinking a little bit. I'm not insinuating. I'm not suggesting. I'm not even thinking that, I would even bring this up other than the value of Matthew Tkachuk. The question I posed on my Twitter account at PrimetimeSamWoo, would you trade #NJDevils captain Nico Hischier in a package deal for Matthew Tkachuk? ? The Devils still could move Dawson Mercer as the second line centerman behind Jack Hughes. And it got a big reaction, and rightfully so. Love the passion, New Jersey Devils fans. A lot of people said nope. But you know what? Say if it was Nico Hischier straight up for Matthew Tkachuk. You keep Jesper Bratt. You keep all your draft picks. First off, Calgary would never do that deal. But I'm just saying, and neither would New Jersey, but the value of Matthew Tkachuk is an interesting one because he's coming at a premium. But really his team, there's only a handful of teams that can really pull this off where Calgary cashes in. And what does Calgary do? The time is ticking. Hence, that's where we're going to get to the arbitration date set. You would think and you would want this trade to go down and get done before you get to those hearings, if it gets that far. And it should be very interesting each day that goes by with a Tkachuk watch, what teams do and what happens. And it's going to be a chess match. It's absolutely going to be a chess match with the teams. Again, we're all speculating here, including the Devils, like what move do you make? How do you plan this? And then here's the obvious. Will Tkachuk sign long-term? Because honestly, nobody's going to make a trade. I mean, Calgary's going to really get nothing if Tkachuk won't even commit to a long-term deal. And could there be a deal where, okay, hypothetical here. Again, don't kill the guy that just brings ideas to the table or asks simple questions. All right? For a consolation prize, if the Devils can't pull off Tkachuk, and Tkachuk really wants to be in St. Louis, and Tommy Fitz said, hey, cousin Tommy, I love you, man, but my heart's in St. Louis, right? Players like Zach Parise go back home. And then could there be a three-way trade bringing Tarasenko back to New Jersey? I don't know. And then who would the Devils give up to Calgary or St. Louis, depending upon how that would go? It would be very interesting if that came about. It would actually, look, it's St. Louis that wants Tkachuk, I'm assuming, and it's St. Louis that has a cap problem. The Devils need a top six forward. Of course they want Tkachuk. They want to get greedy. But if Tkachuk doesn't really want to go to the Devils, is it going to be a situation where you say, too bad, so sad, but then again, that could be just a one-year deal, and then I'm out. Remember Scott Stevens? He did not want to be in New Jersey. But Lou, sweet Lou, was very convincing. Played the cards right. A Stanley Cup came about in 95. And again, these are just not even suggestions, but just the thought process here. Because what's the goal for New Jersey? The goal for New Jersey is to get a top six forward. But what's interesting about Tkachuk and Tarasenko is Tkachuk, again, he is that elite player that you want on your team, in your franchise, and Ramona makes a great point. The Ducks got cap space. Could it be as complicated instead of two-team trade? Could it be three? And a lot of maneuvering. It would take an amazing amount of collaboration to do that. But that's getting ahead of ourselves right now. We're not in that process. Right now, if I was Tom Fitzgerald, I put my best foot forward. And it's a business. Because Matthew Tkachuk can really reinvigorate and re-energize the New Jersey Devils, and which they desperately need. Harris Blitzer Sports Entertainment really haven't shown the fans anything other than, hey, we could spend the $1.3 billion to build an arena in the middle of Chinatown, Center City. Like, how's that going to work? I've got some opinions on that, but that's another podcast for another day. Because I'm going to tell you, that worries me because I think they're in over their heads. To be honest with you. I mean, it's going to be a 10-year. They're in no rush, waiting for the lease to run out at Wells Fargo Center, and then somehow they're just going to waltz their way in Center City, Philadelphia, and a lot of the attention is going to be diverted towards that building arena. If you remember, Devils fans, the arena situation, first Hoboken, then possibly revamping the Meadowlands, and then Newark. They said that it wouldn't work in Newark. Jeff Vanderbeek basically bankrupted himself. He did all he could to move the team from the Meadowlands to Newark at the height of bubble before the bubble burst in 2008. And, you know, he was paying an arm and a leg of interest. And he was underwater, unfortunately, right from the get-go. But enough about the economics. We wanted to talk about what's going on with our New Jersey Devils. Ramona Rice says, Sam, what if we don't get Matthew Tkachuk? Well, that's what actually, it's funny that you say that, Ramona. Let's talk about that because I was just about to get there. Well, on paper, I think the Devils have improved their team. It looks like they're going to be spending to the cap. And it looks like Tom Fitzgerald's holding players accountable. Pavel Zacha got his chances. He's now going to be a Bruin. It would change the scenery. I think he's going to do well there. I think Ty Smith as well will take some time to develop. He's in good hands in Pittsburgh. John Marino coming back as part of that deal. He himself is a major upgrade of what Ty Smith did last season for the Devils. There's no learning curve right now, unfortunately, for Ty Smith. And Tom Fitzgerald, in my estimation, probably did the right thing, the right job, because John Marino is a decent defenseman. But let's start with the goalies. You know, when you build a team, you start with the goalies out. Mac Black, Mackenzie Blackwood, here are the pros. It wasn't too long ago that we were talking about Team Canada putting Mackenzie Blackwood on the Olympic team. Then the injuries happened. Before that, when he got hit with COVID, I mean, he was literally huffing and puffing and trying to muscle through that. There's one thing about Mackenzie Blackwood. One thing about Mackenzie Blackwood I like, because he's received a lot of criticisms from Devils fans, and I'm not going to be overly optimistic here, because I think everybody would agree that time when Mackenzie Blackwood took a puck to the face and knocked out his teeth and still tried to go before it was really too much and he sat out. That was pretty courageous. That was pretty courageous. He has that hockey grit. The injuries that he has suffered, maybe he came back too early last season with the heel. But he did his best. And maybe just Mackenzie Blackwood, yeah, you know, there's the, you know, again, I don't want to even bring this up, but, you know, there were some, you know, off the ice issues that the team was trying to help him with. And that's fine. But I think Mackenzie Blackwood just really at this point needs to build his confidence as he's trying to build his body back up for the season. A confident Mackenzie Blackwood, especially one with his size, and he's still very young, could be a dominant goaltender. Is he going to be a full-time goaltender like what Marty Brodeur used to be? I don't think so. Which is why you have Vitek Vanacek. Gets traded on his day before his wedding day. Had to handle the business. His bride did the rest, according to Vanacek. And now he's rewarded with a 3-year extension with, 3.4 AAV. Look, worst case scenario, it's not too bad if you have to eat the salary. It's better than $10 million like Johnny Gaudreau. And if this is a big if, I think the first thing with the Devils goaltending, stay healthy. Stay absolutely healthy. Bernier going down. Now he's on the long-term list. Mackenzie Blackwood going down. You just traded Scott Wedgwood prior to that, which was kind of a ill-advised move. Even at the time, I was thinking, like, why? Then you have to rely on John Gillies, trade for him from the St. Louis Blues. Also trade for a Hamburglar. But really, Nico Dawes was thrown in as let's use a college football term, a true freshman. Quarterback, true freshman goaltender for the New Jersey Devils. Kind of reminded me of Martin Brodeur when he came up as an emergency basis back in '92 from Utica. And I think it was Chris Terreri and Craig Billington both out. I think what the Devils were left with was Craig Erickson and Marty Brodeur. With Brodeur getting some time. And then the year after, he spends the entire season with Utica. And I think that's the best thing you can do with Nico Dawes. You got a great sample size of what he's about. And I know that the goalies have gotten criticized, but I do see the potential here with Mackenzie Blackwood and Vitek Vanacek. And I think it's a good one. They're going to push each other. And I hope they become great teammates as well as professional hockey players. So, goaltending, I think right now, if I was going to give a grade, it's kind of incomplete because we simply don't know to get to playing games again. But I think right now, if all Tom Fitzgerald spent was really a swapping of the second round picks of this year's draft, and just fork over a third, I think he did pretty well. At the same time, one could argue, well, if you're saying that goaltending, you're one goaltender away, well, why are you just spending a third round pick onto the defense? Dougie Hamilton, you would have to think that he's back to 100%, suffering that jaw injury. I mean, I thought Dougie's play was as advertised in the beginning. But once he got hit in the jaw and came back, and as the Devils were losing and losing more, I think Dougie, again, he was there, but he wasn't. And that's got to change this upcoming season. You're paying Dougie Hamilton a lot of money. $9 million, I think. I think he's got 7 years left. You got to hope that he steps it up this season. Ryan Graves, I believe it's a contract year. I think a lot of us like Ryan Graves. But this is where Fitzgerald has got them good. That pipeline is full of D guys. In order to keep your job and keep your playing time in a contract year, you better perform. That's just the nature of the beast. And I think Ryan Graves is going to have a good year next season. Damon Severson, that's the biggest question mark right now. He's making over $4 million year cap hit. He's entering his 6th year, I believe, from the 6-year deal that he signed years ago. Rumors are, could you package Severson to Calgary? He's from that neck of the woods, but you know what? Severson did say he'd rather be in New Jersey because he knows that the talent's here. They just need time and patience to put it all together. Jonas Siegenthaler, Mr. Consistent, he was the backbone of that defense. And I'm talking about defense. And I think he is really the unsung hero back there. You got John Marino. And, I'll tell you what. But the biggest question mark right now is who's going to run the defense from the coaching side? And it's, again, if I was going to give a grade, it's incomplete because we don't know who that person is. It's very important to get the right coaches in the right situations. But I'm sure we're going to find out in the next couple of weeks who that person would be. Tony P says, I bet all my Doge on Devils getting a Tkachuk. Speaking of sports betting, if it's hard to do it, but has anybody bet against the Devils? Because, during that debacle last year, you probably would have made a lot of money. I'm sure if you bet against them. Not to go Pete Rose on you, but, just kind of curious. Let's just look at Facebook Live as well. I've been looking at a lot of the YouTube Live. Let's see what's on Twitter first. Oh, boy. People say, woo, don't screw this up. I don't know what they're talking about. I have no idea what they're talking about. Let's see here. Nothing on Twitter Live. Facebook Live, big shout out. David Chimes. We should go after minor deals from them and re-sign Bratt. We need a plan B just in case, says Michael. Andrew Gilbert. Fitz won't be able to pull off this type of trade. But if he does, Andrew, again, his legacy is on the line right here. Because I truly believe that if he's unable to get Tkachuk, okay, only winning will solve everything. But again, this is the NHL. This is the professionals. You gotta make it happen, especially when you're a family with Tkachuk. But yeah, just happy Devils Thursday. If those of you that are tuning in live, this is the Woo Report, episode 215 on the Let's Go Devils Podcast Network. If you're in your car right now, just make sure you don't look at the video screen. Because one day, once they get those self-driving cars, you can be watching the live game day live as your car is driving you to Newark, and then you can come hang out with us at Taj Lounge 973, 35 Edison Place across the street from Prudential Center. But also, a lot of people listen to us on Apple Podcasts. This past week, we ranked as high as number 18 in the United States for top hockey podcasts in Apple Podcasts. I mean, it's crazy. Like, I see the Let's Go Devils podcast at 18 and then like Don Cherry podcast at 19. That's just amazing. And we can't do that without folks like you. It makes our lives easier. I mean, doing these podcasts every day, it's not easy. It's not easy because what are you going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about Devils hockey, but you know what? It's hard to be creative and not beat a dead horse, figuratively speaking. Ramona Rice says, if Bratt gets traded, I'm going to hurt him and Nico. Ramona. I know that we're attached to players. I was attached to a couple players in my day when they got traded. I think I was so sad. I'm a big Mets fan, but when they traded David Cone away, I was a Conehead. How can you trade David Cone away? I think they traded him to the Royals, if I'm not mistaken. That was years ago. Mike Ruff says, Don Cherry is a clown. Congrats, though. You guys work your ass off for the pod. Thank you. You know what? It is a lot of work, but the reality is we have so much fun doing this. Scotty at SiriusXM, Liquid Metal, and I do Devils After Dark. Let me tell you about that. It's not easy watching some of those games last season and actually doing Devils After Dark. We only missed one podcast, and that was opening night because we broke 3 cameras at Taj Lounge 973. We just literally had no cameras left after Game Day Live at Taj. Put together a package for Nylander. Toronto needs to create cap space, and they love Severson. Again, maybe there's something that can be done. If Tom Fitzgerald can't do a one-on-one with Calgary, could there be another team in play? I don't know. I really don't know. Oh, it's to the Blue Jays, Michael said. Yeah, I'm thinking Kansas. Yeah, I'm thinking of something else. He came from Kansas City. Yeah, I believe Jeff Kent was also part of that deal. If you could verify that, Michael, that'd be great because I was just devastated. Yeah. Let's see here. Joseph says Ty Smith still can't seem to admit he had a bad year. Well, I got to give him credit. He did cook a bunch of great steaks for Jack Hughes, but we need more beef with Hughes because, we want to make sure that Jack Hughes can survive a whole season. He hasn't proven that yet. Some of it not to his fault, but, let's see what happens. I think Bratt's going to sign. I think right now it's a wait and see. It's wait and see what Tom Fitzgerald does. But tomorrow I'm going to bring my fly pack with me because a lot of media members and pundits saying that something may happen towards the end of the week. Let's see if that's true. You hear all the rumors. You hear the little things. Then you got the fake news burner accounts on Twitter that if you look on first glance, it looks like it's true that Tkachuk's on this team, and you turn out they just punk you. I hate when that happens. But whatever. Well, I want to thank all those of you that are tuning in tonight. Going to drop the podcast at midnight for your Friday commute. But be on the lookout because something may happen. Something may not happen. Definitely what's going to happen is we're going to be podcasting 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. It's probably going to be the Woo Report. We're going to do our best. We all have lives here, folks. Lives here. And also, I'm going to be traveling on the road, taking the podcast to a restaurant near you. So let me know. Let me know some great restaurants that are out there. I asked you guys to type in the in the social media pages that, where are you from? I want to know where you're from, because I want to know. Andrew Gilbert, this is the one positive thing you said in the last year, and it's not even Devils related, that Jacob deGrom threw a successful rehab tonight. Well, there you go. Jacob deGrom. There's all the rumors of Juan Soto. It's amazing what you could do. Amazing what you could do when your owner is actually a fan of the team, and he just happens to be worth about $15 billion and manages practically $1 trillion worth of assets at his hedge fund. Amazing how that works. I don't want to be harping on Harris Blitzer Sports Entertainment. That $1.3 billion project, all privately funded, apparently, right? Well, you know what? That's a big project, and let me tell you, by the time 10 years from now, that's not going to be a $1.3 billion project. There's going to be cost overruns, budgets. You got to deal with environmental. You got to deal with City Hall in Philadelphia. And then residents, remember what happened with the Barclays Center, where they were just, eminent domain, is that the term? Where they're just buying out people and kicking them out. And then you got the last people standing. And why is this important? Why am I bringing this up? Because it's under the same ownership umbrella. Because this is a big risk here. $1.3 billion. Maybe it's pocket change to them. But to me, it's like, well, you're spread out thin, Joshua Harris and David Blitzer. You're spread out thin. Why don't you focus on what you have right now? Get them to be a perennial winner and championships before you start building arenas in the middle of Chinatown in Philadelphia. To me, I have a vested interest. I love Chinatown in New York and in Philadelphia. When you're building something like that, it may take out the originality and charm of those places where it's just too commercialized, and move the residents out. And sooner or later, it's not going to be Chinatown, Anyway, that's another story for another day. But, I'll just hit the music right now. I want to thank all those tuning in again. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart app, Audible, Amazon Music Prime, wherever you get your podcasts. And we're going to be on more platforms this upcoming season as we're building it. You may want to check us out when we're at a restaurant, at a bar, talking Devils hockey. Maybe I'll do a Woo report in your basement. Hey, money talks. Cocktail hour at your wedding. Anybody getting married? We're for hire. We'll do a podcast live from your cocktail hour. That's original, huh? Hey, NJ Devil can't make it. We can. There's always a price, though. Thank you very much, folks. I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully, Fitzy will get this thing done. The odds are that they may. What do you say? This is the Woo Report. Till next time, let's go Devils.